like um, Vinegar and Salt and Jackie Kane are quite often played together
Yeah.
because it's kind of like so. But the cool thing is we're an eclectic band, so we have like up tempo songs, down tempo songs, we have energetic songs, we have songs that are very floaty. And I like that kind of. That's why, for instance, Crosby, Still, Nash and Young made great records. You know, they were very
Absolutely.
eclectic. You had like the Marrakesh Express, and then Almost Cut My Hair, and A Man Needs a Maid, and Our House, all on one record. And I love it. It's like the '60s were really very interesting on that behalf. The Beatles as well. You had the Helter Skelter on the White Album and Bungalow Bill. How do you combine that?
Come
Like
back
it's.
together. Yeah.
But that's kind of. I think that is, for me, music. It should be more than. I think we're now living in very formatted times. Everything needs to be put in a format, and it needs to be boxed and labeled. And I don't like labels, and I don't like to be boxed. I like to kind of like be free and play music, and every day ask for a different song. I guess every so. So yeah, at this moment we're playing a couple of new songs. We're ending the show with One Way Ride, and Fake is the New Dope is actually the title track of the new record that's gonna come out at the end of the year or beginning of 24. We're somewhere around that time. Um, a song that's actually talking about fake is the new dope, about how far can we go in fakeness, like how far can we go in auto tuning and photoshopping and botoxing and filling up whatever body parts, and how far can you go before it becomes completely preposterous or completely ridiculous or completely stupid actually. But at some point, like I'm not saying that it always needs to be live, because like for instance romantic, the strings are not real and still it works, so it's kind of like I am not completely against it, but I think live is about the right balance, and sometimes we're losing
Absolutely.
I'm thinking we're losing balance sometimes, which is kind of weird or something. I think we should balance more between technology and being human,
Well,
between
think
you know
think about it with AI and the technology and people in social media and people bringing phones and record the whole thing. They don't see it, they post it, and it's and people going to Facebook. I don't know 10 times a day to see if they have a message or they need to reply to something. We as if we live in a different world altogether. Where
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes, when people are filming, like, during a gig, I think like, okay, if you film for 1 minute, whatever, because it's your favorite song. But still, for me, it's kind of weird if I go to see a band and they play my favorite song, I want to be in the moment. I want to
that's
enjoy
right.
that moment.
Yeah.
So I don't want to record it on my phone, because first of all, the sound is crap when you listen at home. It's not the same as being there. It's lacking dimension. But that's who I am, like it's true that I don't even use my Facebook. I don't even have an Instagram. I try to kind of focus on what's important to me making music, and try
Mm.
not to have too much diversion or something.
Yeah.
Um but on the other hand, like it's also good technology. Like AI could be interesting. Like a chatbot will never write good lyric. I think, but it could kind of give you an idea maybe, and then with the idea you could almost like collage art or something. You could have like a chatbot write a really bad lyric, and then you could look at it and say like, oh, but this is interesting, or that angle is interesting. Then you take parts of it, you start meshing it up, you start kind of fiddling around, and you humanize it again, and you make it, because that's the whole thing. Like in our lyrics, there's a lot of second layers. It's a lot of humor. There's a lot of, and if you ask a chatbot to kind of like write a Hooverphonic lyric, it's completely dark, and there's no subtlety. It's only dark, and I'm like, but the lyrics that we write are not only dark. There's also humor in "Mad About You." There's also kind of like, and so, but like I said, like sometimes with a bad photo, you can make marvelous art.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. It's having a good balance within life, real life. People don't read books anymore. Everybody read the PDF. Young kids like my son, right? I buy a lot of music, and I mean a lot of it, a lot of vinyl, a lot of my music collection is about, I don't know, 10,000 between vinyl, CD, Blu-ray. I have,
Uh,
you see something in the back, but I have four
yeah,
photos, right? But young kids anymore, they don't understand the 5.1 or Atmos or download MP3. They listen 10 seconds to something, whatever it is.
yeah,
Next.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
we as if they live it too fast. They don't enjoy life.
That's that's the skip culture. But then again,
Yeah,
that's also the trouble with streaming, of course, and YouTube. It's like the value of music is gone. It used to have a value. You had to buy a record. You had to kind
yeah,
of like. I still remember as a kid, I sometimes bought a record, and when I came home, I thought like, oh, I'm not sure if I like it actually. But then you paid like $15 for it, which was a lot of money, and so then you kind of force yourself to listen kind of five, six, seven times to it. And then sometimes you would think like, oh, actually, it's actually really good. It's like, it's kind of,
absolutely. Yeah,
because good music sometimes has to grow on you. It's kind of
that's
like,
right. That's right. Yeah,
not always instant love. It's kind of, it sometimes needs some time. And I still remember OK Computer when it came out. I I was like, I was not sure what to think of it, and then everybody said like, yeah, it's great, and I was like, I don't know, and then it took me 10 times to listen to it before I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought like, oh, this is a masterpiece. So, so yeah, but we paid for a vinyl or CD, so we treasured music,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
kids don't pay for it anymore, so it's kind of like, yeah, it's just fast food. That's what it became.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And if you look at it, like a lot of music is just kind of preset music, and that's kind of sad because, like, it's kind of it's like, yeah, it's fast food. It's really fast food. It's like, and like you say, and that's the kind of music you listen to and skip to the next and next because it's kind of, it's made with templates. When I see engineers saying like, "Yeah, this is my mixing template," and I'm like, I never have a template. I start from scratch every song again, like, because I don't want a
Absolutely.
template. I want
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
build a song. I want to build a piece of music, and every piece of music has its own kind of needs and whatever. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alex, in the year around 2000 for the European Football Championship that took place in Brussels, of course, you guys performed a 12-minute long track called Visions that became the theme of the championship. And, any soccer match or any is watched by, I don't know, 100 million or 200 million, a billion people. And
Mm.
then again, you guys raised the bar again and you began even,
Yeah,
so
yeah. There
you,
was
you
there
wanted
was
to be anonymous, but you couldn't do anymore.
we did it because Raymond is a big soccer fanatic, so our guitar player, so, and we said like, yeah, why not? But let's do it. So, but it was quite amazing to do so. It's it was almost like surreal or something to be in that stadium, and even although I don't like soccer, I kind of like enjoyed that match. I was uh, but it was Belgium Sweden, and Sweden won, I think. But yeah, that was like 2000. But it all, like I said, it all went really fast because then that was 2000. In 2002, there was already Jackie Kane, and
Correct. Yeah.
that was kind of, that was like, a record where we really wanted to kind of push the boundaries of like, can you kind of how can you start flirting with musical without becoming camp, and or like, how can you create cool camp or whatever, like, it was like the orchestra became bigger, and It was like a musical about Jackie Kane. It was like a concept album. It contains one of the, I think, one of the most beautiful songs we've written, Nirvana Blue, it's called. And I still remember talking about fake is the new dope. I still remember we I was listening a lot to Scott Walker at the time, and we normally recorded drums, like wait a second, someone is trying to call me. And so let me check. Oh no, it's okay. No, I'm fine. And so we used to record like the drums first and the band first, and then when everything was ready, then we would record the strings, the orchestra. And it was a 37-piece orchestra that we recorded in London in Olympic Studios. And we said, like, why don't we try to do it like they did it in the 60s? Just play live, the band, the orchestra, sing it live, really like do a live performance. And because then we have the real feel of playing together with the strings. And I still remember we were setting up everything. Everything was ready. We already did the version because we had a backup, of course. We did a version where we had the pre-recorded band and then we recorded the orchestra. And by the time we were ready to start recording with the orchestra, the mixing desk broke down. And they were trying to fix it, and it was difficult. Couldn't get it to work. And then finally, they got it to work. And by that time, the time with the orchestra, we ran out of time. And back in those days, it was like union, kind of like in England. It was like in Belgium, we would have done it, but there it was union. They said like, no, it's a new session, 37 times, whatever. That's gonna cost you £10,000 or something. And then we finally didn't do it because we said like we already spent 250,000 euros on the record, so we were like, okay, we'll not do it. And so it took us till 2012 when we recorded Hooverphonic live at the Elizabeth. So that it took us really like that long before we really did it, but I still remember Nirvana Blue. We wanted to do Nirvana Blue like that. And Nirvana Blue is a song, like I said, like when we were talking about the set list, last year we played with a Turkish orchestra in Istanbul, like a really great show, 4,500 people sold out with an orchestra. And we played Nirvana Blue with the orchestra, and it was like, I still kind of like, one of the most magic moments in my career. I think it was unbelievable. It was really beautiful. We recorded the show. Actually, we should actually put it online at some point. We filmed it and I mixed it. It's a great show.
In the Jackie Kane album, there are two hits that I really like. Sometimes and The World's Mine.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did. I think that album, because I look the metric. I'm an engineer, so I'm always looking numbers. I think the album, according to the rest of the world, right? Not according to you guys, because you like Jackie. It didn't do that well, right?
It didn't. It didn't.
Yeah.
No, it was really. It took us till 2010 when Noémie joined the band. Then, like the night before, did well again. It really kind of like did in Europe and did really well. But 2002, Jackie Kane. I think we were just kind of pushing boundaries, and or maybe people weren't ready for that or something. They were. I think I never thought about commercial success or something. I always thought about making a record. And so it was, yeah. Although like sometimes it's a song we have to play live. It's like, this is one of these songs that if we don't play it, like our fans in Italy and Holland and France, they're not happy. Even this weekend that we played it in Prague, and I said to the guys, I said like, Well, it's not our favorite song, but we know we have to play it because otherwise people aren't happy. And so we played it, and the whole crowd were like singing along. And so it's kind of
That's
like one of
good.
the songs. It's actually the funny bit about the song is that it wasn't even written when we were mixing the album. I wrote it during the mixing of the album because I was a bit bored, and I had like in the recording space of the studio in Bungjunk and Genius in London. I kind of set up a small kind of program kit with a laptop and sampler and a drum machine and a synthesizer. And so like I said, I was listening to Scott Walker again a lot at
Yeah.
that time.
Wow.
And so I listened to Young Man Cry, the Walker Brothers song, and I sampled it, and that's sometimes. Um, but the funny bit is that we recorded a version of sometimes a year later, 2003, on the Sit Down and Listen to Hooverphonic record. And there's an American rapper who actually sampled it and then finally didn't use it. It's a pity because it was quite cool actually. I heard the track because he wanted to clear it, and so it was like us playing with a string quartet. So that was quite funny to see that. It's also like on Lemonade, the Beyonce record.
Yeah.
Uh, in the credits, it said sampled from Isaac Hayes true Hooverphonic to Wiki. Like they really liked to Wiki and they wanted to sample to Wiki and then saw that there was a sample of Isaac Hayes, so they finally sampled Isaac Hayes. But they thanked us
Ah,
for for
yeah.
inspiring them. So
I got it. Yeah. And 3 years later, you did in 205, you did No More Sweet Music, which is a
yeah,
double album. I think you ended up composing like 40 track, but only like 20 or 11 or 12 were
it was
selected,
it.
right?
It was yeah, we wrote a lot and then we did like a remix album and we did it also in surround. We mixed it in surround
Yeah.
with Ronald Prent. Um, that was like, to be honest, there are songs on their record that are so beautiful, like "You Love Me to Death" and "Music Box" and "We All Float" and "Ginger," and it's actually an underestimated record, I guess. By that time, we used huge orchestras, but if you listen to "You Love Me to Death," it's kind of it's just fantastic. Like Ronald Prent mixed it and did also a great job. The way he kind of made the dynamics kept the dynamics really big, so it starts really low and you put your amplifier louder and then suddenly the strings come in and the orchestra, like you feel like like the
Mhm.
it's like the wall of sound. I was like very much into wall of sound at that time, I guess. Um but it's like it's an album, like I said. Now the younger guys in our band, they really love that album. They say like, "Oh, it's a fantastic album, No More Sweet Music. It's really really great." It's
Yeah.
uh so again, I think we were like just maybe too much ahead of our time or something. Although it still did well, like it still sold like 150,000 copies or something, which for a Belgian band was fantastic. But it's like I said, like then we did the President of the LSD Golf Club, which is our favorite record ever. We love that record. It's like
Really? Yeah.
it's recorded live um on tape. It's very psychedelic and it got really great reviews and it sold nothing. But we knew that because there's no singles on there, so we knew it was a difficult one. That was like an album we did for ourselves.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
actually wrote it and recorded it for ourselves. It was
Absolutely. And
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 then
then
Geike, and then
I
Geike,
think
and then
they,
Geike left. Then Geike left
yeah.
and and then we said like, okay, now we want to make chamber pop. I was listening a lot to the Divine Comedy at that time, and like I said, still to a lot of stuff like Goldfrapp and the Walker Brothers, and so by 2010 we met Noémie and
Yeah.
we recorded the night before. We did it on our own budget. We didn't have a record company, and then Sony signed us again, actually, because we left Sony for the president of the LSD Golf Club. And so between 2006 and 2010, we were like we had our own label signed to Pias, like Play It Again Sam. And so by 2010, with the night before, Anger Never Dies, we were signed to Sony again. That was actually the time when we kind of paid that last dollar of debt back to Sony. It's like, the $1 million were gone by that time. So it's the night before was great fun, like it kind of had that James Bond inspiration. It had that kind of like, and Noémie, everybody always says like Geike is the iconic singer. Of course, she's the iconic singer because she sang on Eden and Mad About You.
Yeah.
But then again, like I think Noémie was an amazing singer as well. And if you look at how she started with the band and kind of like was a rough diamond, which was like almost not polished, and 2 years later she was performing with a big orchestra and was like really like a diva or something. That was kind of like a metamorphosis that was quite intriguing to see, how somebody could in 2 years time could like evolve from this kind of young student into like a diva.
Yeah.
And it's quite interesting to
this album.
Yeah. It's quite interesting to see that. It's quite interesting to see that that the live version, like Mad About You live, the orchestra version in the Elizabeth Hall in Antwerp, still kind of like it has like almost 170 million views on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's like our most watched video on YouTube. So it's kind of like crazy to see how an evergreen was reinvented and kind of got huge again, and also on Spotify, I think, the original is between 1 million a month and the live recording is around like 300 to 500,000 a month. So it's kind of, and it keeps on going. It keeps on kind of like being played. So that was kind of quite cool. But I have to say, with Noémie, it was cool to. I had huge fights with Geike. I never had huge fights on the road with Noémie, and still, for some kind of reason, I get along better with Geike than with Noémie or something. We like Raymond, me and Geike, we built that band. We started from scratch, and we kind of like, yeah, we shared a life on the road for 11 or 12 years, so that kind of creates a bond, I guess.
Is it difficult? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But no. Ask away. It's
No, it's a wonderful. I mean, all the singers that plays in the band are fantastic. I imagine that you guys go through a filter of 10,000, 5,500, 5 to 1, and it's very difficult to do.
The thing is that I think we have the singers left, and we had to reinvent ourselves. It forced us to reinvent ourselves.
That's right.
Forced us it forced us to evolve, and it kept the band fresh in a way. So we were always really good at spinning negative stuff into something positive. Me and Raymond, we always thought like, okay, this is sad. Geike leaves, but we were always feeling like it's not the end of the book yet. It's the end of a chapter, but we have to write a new chapter, and so we kind of kept on writing chapters, like with Noémie, with Luka, with in Wonderland, another of my favorite albums, like in Wonderland, where we have all these different vocals.
Yeah,
beautiful songs like
which is this guy, which is
it's like it's also a great record. Moving, It's fantastic. God's gift. Bada boom. It's yeah. It's also an eclectic album, but in a way it's really cool. All these vocals, like in Wonderland, the title song is fantastic. Wrote by Janie Price, and so
Absolutely, yeah.
it's so yeah. The singers leaving was like, from one hand it was tough, and on the other hand it was a blessing. It was a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Cool.
And then in 2020, Geike came back, and that was just like we started talking again on the telephone for something completely different, and we felt like a connection again, and so she came back. So then that was like, and then we went to Eurovision, and everybody said like they're going crazy, they're going to Eurovision, and it was like I really like I said, like I have this kind of thing with camp from time to time. I really, there's stuff that I really enjoy. Like I always was a fan of the Pet Shop Boys, and everybody was always like, "Really, do you like the Pet Shop Boys?" They're like, "Yeah, they have great tracks. Like,
Of
what have I
course.
done to deserve this,
Yeah.
and Rent, and West End Girls, and like and Suburbia, and
So yeah.
so yeah, so I always had this kind of thing with camp. So that's why I probably always liked the Eurovision Song Contest. And so when they asked us 5 times, we always refused. But then in 20 they asked us, in 19 they asked us, and I said like, yeah, why not? Like I felt like I could make a difference. And at that time I felt the concours was like a bit more interesting. There was like Salvador Sobral, who won in I was 16 or 17, I think it was, or and it was like some, so we did participate. And I have to say, the year we participated was really interesting with the Ukrainian band, Go A, with Barbara Pravi. There was quite with Maneskin. It was quite an interesting edition we were in.
Mhm.
Uh, Now this year, I think it was bollocks. This year was crap. It was like we were talking about the presets kind of music. This year
Yeah.
was a lot of preset music. A couple of things that I kind of thought was cool in its camp value, in its kind of kitsch value, but back when we were there, I thought like we had a lot of fun doing that. And it was kind of also fun to be there and sing. Like the whole festival we were singing that we were in the wrong place. So that's probably why we ended up 19th.
Yeah, that's I'm happy that you mentioned the Pet Shop Boys because it's one of my favorite bands. I mean, I love too many bands, from
Yeah,
Genesis,
yeah,
Peter Gabriel, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Camel, Gone, all
yeah,
the
yeah,
pop,
yeah,
and the Pet Shop Boys are very, and of course the Pet Shop Mode and the Pet Shop Boys are unbelievable bands, man. So
yeah,
I'm glad
yeah,
you like this stuff.
yeah,
It's in Wonderland, for people that they don't know that album, there's different singers, and
yeah.
I think there are 12 tracks and six singers. How and great tracks like, of course, Bada Boom and Deep Forest and in Wonderland. How you're able to how you go about it? I mean, you guys didn't have a
Well,
singer, right, at the time in between. So you
well,
said, well, we have songs. Let's reach out to.
the 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 thing is that I like to co-write. Like I said, in '98 I was already co-writing, and I like to
Yeah.
co-write with other people. And at some point, like I wrote a lot of songs. Sometimes you write a song with a co-writer, like a co-write artist that sings the ultimate version of a song. And you try it with another singer, you try it with your own singer, but you try it with Hek, or you try it with Noémie, or you try it with whoever you try it. It's never as good as the original demo. The demo sometimes is like the version. And so Bada Boom was already on. We tried it already a couple of times. We tried Praise Be. We tried in Wonderland, but they were all songs. Whenever we tried to re-record them with a different singer, we were never pleased. And so when Noémie left, we were actually, the first thing we said to each other is like, now is the time we can actually release these songs. They are great Hooverphonic songs, and we just asked the original singers if we can use the original vocal, like, and make it like a kind of Massive Attack kind of thing where we have different vocals on a record. So that is actually how that record kind of was made. So Felix Howard was singing on God's Gift and Moving at my place when he was completely hungover. I had no clue he was singing for a record, and that's why sometimes these takes are so fantastic and so good. Like on Bada Boom, Emily Seth and Neil Thomas were singing on an island in Norway. We were writing songs together. We actually wrote Cocaine Kids and Bada Boom in one day. We started with Bada Boom in the morning. At 5 in the morning, I think we finished Cocaine Kids with a huge
Wow.
scream. So yeah, it's kind of like sometimes recording music is sometimes recording magic. It's recording energy. It's recording the energy at the right time, right place. And sometimes you just have to. It's something that frustrates a lot of singers. It frustrates Geike that 95% of the vocal takes on Hooverphonic records are demo takes because they were
Really?
just perfect. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
perfect.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
then Geike always says like, yeah, I want to try to do it again. And then I said, like, well, like, I don't know, like, I'm not sure. But yeah, well, let's try it. And we tried it, and it was never, she almost never got it better. And that frustrates her. And I said, like, but you shouldn't be frustrated. It's like when you first hear a song and you sing it, it's like falling in love with a woman and having, like, butterflies in your stomach. And, like, you're completely in love with the song. And it's really exciting because it's all new and unknown and you don't even know the song that well, and that's why you record often. And also there's no pressure because you think like, hey, I'm recording a demo.
That's
And
right.
then
Yeah.
if you're then in an expensive studio in front of an expensive microphone on the other side of a glass window, and then you press rec, there's too much stress. So
Absolutely. Is it difficult? I think another question. Is it difficult to be normal in your life, Alex? No, Alex the musician, no, Alex from Hooverphonic. Well, no, finding a girl, going to a restaurant, making a reservation, walking down the street, people find you, recognize you.
they do, but they do, but to be honest, Belgium is a great country on their behalf because Belgians are very intimate, kind of like intimate kind of people. They're
Yeah,
so they are not extrovert. So they would sometimes ask me for an autograph or a picture or whatever, but most of the time they let me be. And I still live in the same town I was born in, and also because
yeah,
people know me here, they're used to see me around. So
yeah.
so it's kind of like, like it's kind of okay. And then, like the great thing I think is when I was 27, I wanted to be world famous, like, like for instance, like Coldplay or something.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I'm 50, and I'm glad I'm not. Like I said, last year we played 4,500 sold out in Istanbul, but I still can walk in the streets of Istanbul, go to a restaurant, enjoy myself, go out with friends, go to a bar. That's like, actually best of both worlds. It's like you play music, you do
Yeah.
what you love to do most, you earn a good living, you have a lot of people watching your show, and at the same time I'm like, I can blend in, and I kind of like that kind of like, I can, like at some point I almost did like X Factor in Italy as a judge, and my wife said like, no, don't do that, like, because then we can't go to Italy anymore on holiday, because then you're gonna be like this television personality and people will bother you all the time. And it's like, that's the great thing I think about being Alex Callier, like, of course, here in Belgium, I get recognized, but here in Belgium, people are really down to earth. So it's quite okay. And I like to be quite normal under the radar, like, I like to go to a restaurant with my wife and not being bothered.
Yeah, or walking down the street or normal stuff. You go and see a movie, and
Yeah, that's
normal
it. And
stuff can
that's
be. We
that's
take for
that's
granted.
that's that's why, like, for instance, um, like the Beatles or Coldplay, they're living in a golden cage. Like
Yeah,
they earn so much money. But
yeah,
what can you do? Like you can't even go to a beach without having paparazzi behind your back. Like it's
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm very happy that I play in a more kind of indie cult band. It's a better life. It's a better life. It made me a very good. It made me a very decent living, and I good money, but I still can be very just
So live
me.
a normal life, live a
Yeah,
normal.
yeah, yeah,
That's I'm not famous, so I don't have the problem.
yeah,
The last I was checking Bandcamp and Spotify out, and the last two tracks, especially the first one, Por Favor, and then Don't Think are from 2023. Where the motivation for Por Favor? Because I'm a Hispanic guy, right? I'm from Latin America. I never told you, Alex, I was born in Chile, in South America, and I came
okay,
to the United
hmm,
States to study after high school, and I ended up
yeah,
staying for music related. I went to school, I went to graduate school, I got married, I got one by last year. So when I saw Por Favor, say, man, that's, what was the motivation? Because the rhythm is
the
very, of course, it was done on purpose. I mean,
the fun bit is that actually I wrote it with an Italian guy, a friend of mine, Luka Caravalli. I wrote Amalfi with him. I wrote Romantic with him. I wrote Heartbroken with Luca, and he's a friend I met at that camp in Norway as well. Like. And I was at his place, and he made this kind of backing track and with samples that he cut up, mariachi samples, and I liked it. And we started writing a song with it. And at some point, we wanted to say per favore. I said like, no, per favore. That's not working. That's too many syllables. We need something shorter. And so he said like, well, I'm sorry, we'll have to do it in Spanish. Por favor is like rhythmically is like. But actually,
that's
the song talks is inspired by Calexico. That
yeah,
band from Europe, from Arizona, or New
yeah.
no Arizona. Yeah, I think so. And Manu Chao. Um, and it talks about respect and relationships. It's actually like a song about how a guy is like really impolite to the singer, and where she says like, you could at least, if you want to try to seduce me, at least you can be like, yeah, respectful or something,
Absolutely,
like,
absolutely. Yeah,
so, but it still has that kind of like, it has that kind of Western vibe with the guitars, the down, 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 down. It's like, it's still a Hooverphonic song. That's a cool thing about Hooverphonic. It's a different movie. This time we write a song for some kind of Tarantino movie, and that's Por Favor, like it's and Don't Think is just really weird because the male vocal you hear on Don't Think is Luca's dad. He's 84-year-old Italian, and during COVID he was Luca has like a heart condition. He has Marfan syndrome, and so he had to stay inside the apartment. His studio is actually an apartment, and his parents live next door in another apartment, so it's two apartments. And so they stayed, the three of them together during COVID. Couldn't go out because they were too vulnerable. And at some point, he wanted to check the microphone, Luca, because he wanted to sing something. So he asked his dad to kind of check the microphone. So his dad was just like doing silly in front of a microphone, not knowing that Luca was like recording actually that. And so we sampled it. And so the Donatella tinta te qua is actually Luca's dad, like, like scatting away, like, without even knowing
good,
he
good,
was on
good.
a record. And so we sampled it and made a song about depression, because to be honest, 2 years of COVID got me finally after 2 years I got really depressed for like 2 months. I was really feeling really awful, and it's kind of couldn't play gigs for 2 years, and it was just awful. And then at some point we could play a couple of gigs in France, I guess 3 gigs in France in December. Um and uh and I still it was December 21, and I still remember, like my wife had to push me on the tour bus. She had to say like, "Come on, you have to go," and I was like, "I can't." And I was 3 hours on a tour bus, and I felt already better. And at night, we played a gig in France in Metz. And at the end of the show, I said to the crowd, like, "I really want to thank you guys because you're the best Prozac in the world." Like because I felt it made me. I felt immediately good again, and I kind of like realized that being on the road and playing live is kind of a necessity. It's first of all, it's my social life. It's kind of like for me, it's like seeing the band and people is like it's my way of going out and having a drink. And so 2 years without kind of like I always thought I was a studio rat, and maybe I am a studio rat, but I definitely need to be on the road and play gigs and see an audience and see people. And so yeah, so and that and so I was explaining that to Luca's dad, and he said like, "Hey, Alex, there's nothing between lunch and dinner, like for an Italian, it's like he just said like you have to kind of live from lunch to dinner, don't think too much, and kind of like that's because Luca's dad used to have depressions as well, so he knew what I was talking about. And he
Mm.
kind of he's a funny guy. He's like, "Hey, Alex, there's nothing between lunch and dinner. If you think about too much about the past, you get depressed. If you think about the future, you get stressed. So live in the now," he said. So
Live the present, which is very
yeah,
difficult.
yeah, yeah,
Live in
definitely.
the present is not difficult. Believe it or not, I have never seen you guys playing live, and of course I have all your music. But I'm going to be flying to your country and going to be seeing you guys Friday, October 27th, and then Saturday, October 28th.
Oh, really? And which venues?
I'm
Small
going
one?
to. Of course, I don't speak the language. Let me pronounce it. The 27th is Ostidenti,
Ostende.
Ostende, and the next
It's
one
the
is
seaside.
Deinze.
Denzen.
Yeah,
Denzen.
Diance. Both.
Yeah, Danzig. That's close to
Yeah.
Ghent, actually. If you're in Danzig, you should go to Ghent. Ghent is a beautiful city, actually. My brother lives
Oh,
there, and
I will
and
check it out.
Ostende is quite cool. It's at the seaside. So it's a
Yeah,
nice place to be. And
yeah,
the building in Ostende is a nice building. It's a really cool building. It's cool. It's not a big
yeah,
venue. It's a small
yeah,
venue. We do it because the guys kind of like always are really nice to us when we do tryouts. So we kind of like they booked us, and we did it for less money because we have a good connection with them. But that makes
yeah,
it even more intimate. So that's gonna be cool. And
yeah.
Danza, I never played in Danza. I don't even know if it's a cool venue. So it's
Really? I wouldn't
let's
know.
hope so.
Yeah,
Let's hope
I
so.
would love to take you, the three of you, out to dinner that day when the Friday or Saturday. What's the distance between one venue and the other? The Austrian dancing is like an hour
Oh, it's not
of
far. It's like it's not even an hour. I think it's
driving. Yeah,
yeah, maybe an hour, but not even. I think it's 45 minutes or something. Well,
yeah,
Stanley Jens is like 40, 45 minutes, and Dance is a little bit out of Ghent, so yeah, maybe an hour, but that depending on traffic. But it's really close by. It's really close by. And if you're looking for hotels,
yeah.
Ostende has cool hotel. But if I wouldn't stay in Dance. I would stay in Ghent. Ghent is fantastic, actually.
Yeah, I will write it down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Ghent is a really, really beautiful city. It's a medieval city. Very nice castles, buildings. It's really nice. Very good restaurants in Ghent.
all
Nice
right.
hotels as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I would in Ostende you could stay. Like if Ostende is nice. There's some cool hotels in Ostende. But Danza is like too small. I would stay in Ghent and then
I get it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, if in between the nights, I would love to, meet the three of you and take you out to dinner or something, go to beer or coffee, whatever you want. And
Yeah, well, we
looking
can
forward to
maybe
it.
organize. We
Yeah,
can maybe organize something. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe let's see. Maybe we can in Ostende. We can have lunch or something, and then
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I'll take the train to Ostende instead of. So yeah, let's see what
yeah,
well Anne has your email
yeah,
and so
yeah. And we'll coordinate with that, man. And I forgot this is the latest one that I bought. Is the best of.
yeah, 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 Yeah,
free
yeah,
album.
that's a
It's
yeah,
a beautiful picture. Have all the lyrics and
yeah,
I like who does. I mean, there's not an accent. This is great. There's no an
the
accent.
the,
Great.
it's the artwork is always done by the same guy already for
There's no an
since
accent, right? Who is
yeah.
that person? It's very good.
It's Anton Marin is his name, and he already worked with us from '96. You know, he always did all our. The
Yeah,
only one he didn't do was No More Sweet Music. That was at that time we worked with an American guy, but for all the other albums he did, he always
the
did.
artwork. Yeah, it's
So
very good.
yeah. Anyway, I have to be
All
careful
right.
because I think I have another interview in
Okay.
a live radio interview in 5 minutes. So
All
we
right,
have
man.
to kind of
It was very nice talking to you, Alex. Looking forward to seeing you playing live with the band
yeah.
and
Okay,
having dinner,
cool.
coffee, whatever when I get there, man.
How long do you stay in Belgium for then?
I'm staying 3 days because then I'm going. Let's see, the gig is on Friday and
Yeah.
Saturday, so very likely I'm going to be flying Thursday. I'm staying Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday I'm going to London. I think 5 days or some. I
Okay,
haven't
cool.
not planned everything in London
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
So let's see. I'll see. I'll look at in my schedule, see if
we'll get
we can
together, man.
organize something.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you
Okay.
very much. It was
Cool.
very nice talking to
Okay.
you, Alex. Take it easy. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Talk to you
Thank you.
later. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye, Alex.